very good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. My name's James, heading up the QBS MSP team here, and we're joined by the sales manager over at usecure, Nihil, to really go over the number one, security awareness solution in the industry right now.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, James. It was really good to get this session up and running. So my name again is Nihil. I head up the sales team at usecure. Some of you watching this will be familiar with what we do. Others maybe less so. Again, as James mentioned, it's all about cybersecurity awareness for end users. So what we're focusing on today is about essentially enabling you as an MSP to position the product effectively and show the value of this type of product to your client base. Most people are concerned with cyber awareness sort of threats and cybersecurity threats, but aren't necessarily sure about the best route or even sure what's out there to help them to minimize those type of threats. So it's going to be quite a light session, all again aimed at sort of helping you as an MSP to understand how to sort of unearth those pain points and those sort of potential sales opportunities when it comes to usecure. So I guess just a quick overview of the actual the agenda for today. So it's going to be about how to position your human risk management offering, how to actually identify those low-hanging fruit, those key customers, how we at usecure and at QBS can support your sales cycle, so tons of resources that we can provide for you, some common sales objections and responses, stereotypical things which clients who are a bit hesitant will say, and how you can overcome those objections really easily, and some detailed resources to help you sell, again, both from ourselves and QBS. So I guess just a little bit of a background about the stats around this. So by next year, it's estimated that 25% of mid-sized enterprises will adopt a security awareness training program as a managed service. And that's up from less than 5% in 2020. So in just 4 years, it's gone up 5 times. Now, obviously, these are mid-sized enterprises, and a lot of them will have internal IT teams that are often bigger than some of the clients that you manage. So if they're looking progressively at getting managed services for security in place, those sort of small to medium-sized businesses will be doing so at a larger rate. Those are the companies that do tend to get targeted quite often as well. You just don't really hear about them as often. So there's definitely a growing demand from your client base for a security awareness training as a managed service provider.
Thanks for that, Nihil. And you actually come on to the first question we had there. So what would be the best way from an MSP perspective to position or kind of package the usecure as an offering to their customers?
So it's an interesting question because we provide the software as one SKU. So effectively, it's up to the MSP how they want to chop it up. The licensing from QBS is super simple. Now, some of our clients just go with sort of a standard offering and say you get everything included as standard, and there you go, do what you want with it. What we're finding some of our more successful partners are doing is effectively offering a 2-tier subscription service. That way it's less a decision about do you want the product or not. It's do you want the product in this way, or do you want to leave it for now? And that sort of core and advanced offering does tend to work quite well psychologically to make them sort of have a bit more control about their buying process. And you often find if somebody starts at the core model, they then move on to more advanced functionality a little bit later on. But again, the whole idea with usecure is that it is very admin light. So even if you get towards the more advanced levels of subscription, as an MSP, it's not going to be difficult for you to scale that out. Just as I guess a bit of a reminder about exactly what is included within usecure. You've got 4 different services all within one single system. So you've got uLearn for tailored training. You've got uFish for targeted simulated phishing campaigns. You've got uBreach for dark web monitoring. And you also have nice reporting in-app to combine all that together. You've got uPolicy, which is a policy management tool. And then you also have the ability to build custom courses and build custom phishing campaigns. So all of that is available as standard as part of your sort of purchase as an MSP. How you chop that up can be essentially up to you. Again, what a lot of our partners do is they offer a core and an advanced package. So a core being a very sort of easy, quick value add. You get the training, the phishing, and the breach reporting. Those are the sort of, I suppose, more stereotypical ones that clients are concerned with. And then you potentially got an advanced plan where you can incorporate more of the policy management side of things. So more around compliance, about processes. You can maybe build custom courses, if they're in a specific industry or they've got new starter training, you could incorporate that as part of the service. And also spear phishing. I'm sure, James, you probably get phishing attacks looking like it's come from, CEOs and that type of thing. It happens. So replicating that type of thing within usecure, it helps make the program that you build for them much more with much more real life validity, because you can replicate the type of things that they're experiencing.
Thanks for that, Nihil. The phishing, yes, we often get emails kind of dressed up as old customers, or perhaps coming from an existing customer's email address, because they've been compromised, if you like. So then they send us attachments, etc., or they're asking us for information, and it's just, it doesn't seem right. They are getting much better. So the fact that we can include some custom phishing, to see who is, see who is actually learning and who is actually vulnerable internally. That's a great way of also seeing, who is at risk. So. This is something we're faced. Yeah, something I face with almost on a weekly basis. I say now it's very frequent.
And the type of ones that are getting reported are getting more and more sophisticated as well. It's things like checking LinkedIn to see if you've changed your job recently, if you're a new starter, and then preying on that sort of that freshness. There's even been times where QBS have reported people tending to be usecure and saying, can you pay your invoice for the month? QBS are very good at spotting them, to be fair, I guess, because they use the training. But it happens, and that you have no control over people impersonating you, but you do have control over how well educated your end users are with spotting that type of thing. So again, nice to have that sort of variation in what you can offer. And again, it all comes down to the admin. You might be thinking, well, an advanced product sounds like more work than I actually need to be doing. The whole idea behind this is that the admin is always low. usecure is literally built for MSPs. So the entire functionality is built with scalability in mind. So if you do go for more of a core product, well, it's completely automated. The training, phishing, and breach monitoring can be set up in literally 10 minutes, and then it just runs itself forever. For the more advanced, you still have ready-made templates. So there's policies, about 35 policy templates in the system already. We even have some custom phishing campaigns that we've built in there around things like, you've got a new holiday policy. Your annual leave is changing. Click here to view how it's changing. And that type of stuff definitely grabs people's attention.
Thanks for that, Nihil. I suppose the next important question is how to identify customers who are actually in need of a solution like this. Like you mentioned before, the key customers, or perhaps low-hanging fruit. For me, it comes to mind those that are installing trials and have been using it for quite some time. How can we help our MSPs identify potential customers?
Because I guess the idea about security awareness training now is every company realistically should be doing it, but it's important to start getting momentum with maybe those clients who are a little bit more obvious as targets, but also as those that are probably more likely to be concerned around security. So quite an obvious one, but it's still worth reiterating, is those that have recently experienced a user-related breach. It's quite easy if you haven't had a breach to put it off and say, well, yeah, it's not happened to us yet, we're fine. Unfortunately, a lot of companies do get breached, and then it's a case of, well, how do we stop that from happening again? Because the downtime that it causes is absolutely crippling. So you will likely have customers who have experienced a user-related breach, or even have just spoken to other companies in their industry that have been breached, and got that sort of that second-hand experience, if you like, by speaking to their contacts at that company, hearing about the fallout, and hearing then, as a solution from you guys, how simple it is to try and minimize that risk. We were talking about how we experience phishing attacks all the time. It just takes one person on a Friday afternoon when they're trying to get home to not really check things properly. There's also a bit of movement towards ISO 27001. We're seeing more and more companies going towards that certification, obviously the gold standard of how you handle your information security data. We have a lead auditor on our board for ISO 27001, so we regularly get referenced in those audits as a really easy win. Getting certified for ISO 27001 is an absolute pain. There are so many controls and it takes months. If you can provide your customers who are going for this certification with an easy win, which usecure is from an end user perspective, that is going to be absolutely gobbled up.
Mm. I see, and sorry to interrupt you. I notice, customers trying to achieve this certification also helps, also helps with their business insurance and reducing the cost of their annual business insurance. Am I right?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, I forgot about. Yeah, so it ends up almost saving them money by paying for a security awareness solution because their insurance premiums then come down. Also, particularly if your clients sell to government entities or sort of more heavily regulated entities, those clients are asking their providers to be ISO certified now. So, if they are trying to provide their services to government entities, they're going to need this certification, or more often than not, it will come up as a nice to have, but pretty soon those nice to have become mandatory. So it's something that a lot of clients will be aware of, going towards that certification and looking for help to do so. But also, you will have clients who just purchase security related products from you. That's a good way to identify their buying habits and I guess their concerns. If they often do take up other security products that you provide, that's often quite infrastructure based. It's quite a nice story to then tag on the human element. So, you're taking care of your infrastructure, help us take care of your humans, and then you've got a nice comprehensive suite there. So those are quite good people to speak to. Kind of linking with the ISO certification, if they operate in a heavily audited industry, if they have any external auditors looking at their processes, looking for how they handle their staff cybersecurity awareness, so things like if they're regulated by the FCA in the financial services industry, if they're a hospital, anybody that has that sort of external pressure to show they're being secure with how they handle data, they will be looking for admin-light, easily reportable ways to help their staff members. And as we touched on the last slide, that essentially is usecure. And then again, just generally, if they've shown concerns about security, if they've forwarded you phishing emails before and said, does that look suspicious? It shows not only do they have those sort of attacks that they're experiencing, but also that they are relatively savvy to it and they're concerned to it. So it's good to then refer back to that email. And again, going back to the ability to build custom phishing attacks, you could suggest to them, well, you spotted it. That's brilliant. But your staff members, your receptionist, your finance team, will they also spot that? So you could then create that phishing attack, send it to their staff members. Again, it has that real life validity. And then you're building a nice business case for them as well. Anything there that I've missed, James, or is that everything?
No, that's very informative. Appreciate that, Nihil. I suppose the next question would be just after identifying customers, and once they've seen there's a case, seen there's an interest, they've recognised how how vulnerable they are. How could we kind of kick off the sales cycle? What does a typical sales cycle look like from point of interest? I know from experience, we like to encourage the free trials. As far as demos, etc. go, how does that look from your side?
Yeah. So we've broken down, I think, like a 4-part sales cycle, and there is support for you as an MSP every step of the way. So step 1, obviously the prospecting phase, actually getting that client hooked, that initial interest. There is a resource hub that we have available in-app that has tons of sales guides. It has tons of even sales scripts, different questions you can ask, white papers, that type of thing. You can also request a brandable marketing pack. So a completely white labeled marketing pack has no reference to usecure as a vendor, but it can have your MSP's logo on it. It can have your MSP's phone number on it. And it will then have tons of supporting resources that essentially justify why your client should be acting now rather than waiting until it's too late. So there's tons of stuff in there. You also do have a sales and marketing tool, which I'll touch on a little bit again in a moment. But we have an MSP sales tool called the Human Risk Report. And we can even build a conversion form for your website. So you can have a security awareness landing page, and you can have all of these sort of prompts to generate that interest. And then you've got a clear call to action, where if they enter their email, they then start to get a bespoke report built for them as well, which is a really nice hook. Step 2, book a meeting. And that is a meeting that we can help you guys to run, whether it's us leading it or whether it's us just supporting. As an MSP, you will have a dedicated account manager, obviously both at usecure and QBS. We've been working with QBS for three years now, so they can demo the product almost as well as we can. So it makes sense to utilize that experience, get us involved with those meetings with your clients, and then we can help them to obviously understand the main selling points of usecure, or the main, I guess, points of interest that could help them out. Then it's a case of either demonstrating risk or demonstrating value. So we split this 3 into 2 different chunks, partly depending on the stage of your client. So as James mentioned, we've got a 2-week trial that we can offer to your clients so they can then get used to the system, explore it in their own time. But we also do have that sales tool, which is the human risk report. The difference between the two is the risk report is better for, again, demonstrating risk to that organization. So if they're a little bit earlier on in the sales cycle and they're a little bit hesitant about how vulnerable they are or how much they truly need a solution, the risk report is perfect for demonstrating that standing risk. Alternatively, if they are a little bit further along and they're convinced that, yes, that there is a gap that we need to plug, they're just unsure about whether the usecure solution is the right way to do it. The free trial is the perfect way to then show them how the training looks, how the admin console looks, how the .web monitoring works, and what information that pulls through. So you have 2 nice clear routes to essentially try and convert that client depending on what stage they're at.
Just a quick question there for you, Nihil. In order to provide our MSPs with a free human risk report for their customers, end users, would they need to have a trial? Would they have need to been active on a trial for a certain amount of time?
No, it can be completely separate from the trial. So yeah, you can even go from a risk report to a trial if you need to, or just go from the risk report from scratch with no prior engagement. That's fine.
Oh, right. So what information would you need in order to provide the human risk support?
Literally just an email address. That will start it off. Yep. So it's even good for prospecting with people you don't necessarily work with just yet. There's 3 steps to the risk report. You can do 2 out of the 3 with just an email.
Very quick and very handy. Good to know.
Exactly. Again, all about helping partners to sell usecure without having to spend hours per prospect or per client. And that obviously helps you then to scale. And then obviously then the final step is to convert that to a paid account, and we do have flexible monthly billing through QBS as well. So completely fair billing. You only pay for what your clients have in the system each month, and that can fluctuate. So it protects your margins as an MSP. You're not going to get lumbered with a massive bill that you're then struggling to pass on to your clients.
Thanks for that, Nihil. And then moving on to, the kind of frequently asked questions, or the frequently faced objections from customers. What would you say were the most kind of typical example or common objections you guys tend to get?
Yeah. So these are ones that tend to happen a bit earlier in the sales cycle. So the classic one, we've got no budget for this. Again, it's one of those where it's amazing how that budget is found if an incident occurs, but it's a case of demonstrating that risk so that they understand the value of it before an incident happens. So you have those prospecting tools that we talked about, but you also have the flexible monthly billing. So there's no commitment. They can just roll it out for a few months, see how things go, see how their staff members engage with it. And you tend to find, because of the nature of the program and because of the data that you can provide, they then get hooked in, and it's very hard to then remove the processes that you've then implemented. There is also the option, particularly for larger clients, of annual billing. It tends to be a little bit more cost effective, obviously with the agreement to purchase it for 12 months at minimum. So you have those 2 routes depending on the client and their sort of requirements. Quite a common objection as well. We're not at risk. We've not had a breach yet. It's the enterprise level companies that get attacked. Offer a free human risk report. It's no obligation. There's no sort of cost to the client at all. The cost to an MSP is about 20 minutes of their time. But that way you can then show exactly the level of that risk. And if it comes back and there are no vulnerabilities, then fine. There's always stuff that you could be doing. But realistically, because we are talking about human beings, there will always be some vulnerabilities out there. It's just a case of highlighting them and understanding the breadth of them. You might have some clients that run training in-house. That's obviously quite a common one. Most people do some form of onboarding training. What you find when you dig deeper is it's often just a PowerPoint when somebody joins the organization. There's not really much of a follow-up, and it relies on your contact at the client to actually research and update that presentation, then deliver it. So it's very manual. There's not too much reinforcement. When you compare that to a 3-minute long video that we deliver each month, there's a lot of gap between what they could be doing and what they're currently doing. A lot of people say they don't have time to implement a solution. Well, that's where you as an MSP come into it. And again, worth reiterating, it is completely automated. Once you get it set up, you can set up the training, phishing, dark web monitoring. You can integrate with Microsoft 365. You can do all of that in literally 20 minutes. And then you've got the system just running itself for you in the background. And then again, another common one, well, even if we get it set up, we don't have time to actually manage that. Well, again, we talk about the ongoing admin. So you've got the automation with the system to make sure that things keep ticking along. You as an MSP can get sort of semi-regular reports. You can automate those reports to go to your clients. They don't even have to log into the system to understand how their organization is progressing when it comes to human risk.
Yeah, and just to mention there, you already mentioned it's quite admin light. So yes, you guys as the MSP for your clients, you will be managing the admin side of it. Us as your distributor will be sending you an invoice every 30 days, and the invoices will be automated as well. And if you have any queries, there's always 15 days before it actually gets invoiced. If you have any queries on the user count, perhaps you think it's too low or you think it's too high, it's all visible in your console as well for you to reference against. Thanks, Nihil.
Perfect. Just a final few bits. So again, there are readily made resources available to help you sell. There is a resource hub, both with guides on functionality, but also just how to market usecure, how to sell it. There is a dedicated playbook that will cover every stage basically with you as an MSP, right from you've just onboarded with us, you've just got your internal MSP account, all the way to you have 20 clients onboarded and you want to make sure that you're managing them as efficiently as possible. And again, you have that human risk report as a prospecting tool. And then, yes.
Thank you very much for that, Nihil. So it's, I guess my takeaway from that is that it's just really about informing and educating, our customers and you guys as MSPs, just ensuring your clients are aware, informed of the latest attacks as they get more and more, complex and realistic. And at the end of the day, it's all just about keeping ahead of the curve. And I guess if you guys do have any questions, or the white label marketing materials, or perhaps free human risk support is of interest, then you've got our direct line there. You've also got our sales email address. And for those of you viewing this that are existing customers of us, we will be in touch as well. We will be in touch to discuss, as it is important that we all stay informed and aware. And these attacks are getting more and more realistic. So we really appreciate your information today, Nihil, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, James. I hope that was really informative for everyone. And cheers for hosting.